All right. Well, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Maybe even good evening, depending on where you're joining us from today. My name is Joe Grabowski, and I'll be your host for today's Reach the World Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants event. So, for the last several months, we have teamed up with Reach the World and the Falkland Maritime Heritage Trust as preparations were underway for the Endurance 22 Expedition. The goal being to find Ernest Shackleton's ship Endurance that sank in roughly 3,000 meters of water in 1915. So, leading up to the launch of the expedition, we've had a great series of events meeting all kinds of team members, from the expedition leader to maritime archaeologists to those working with the technology. We then had an awesome event live in the port in Cape Town aboard the Agulhas II before it set sail for the Weddell Sea. And this week, we've had another great series of events connecting live from the ship as it makes its way into the Weddell Sea towards the sink site. We've met the ship's doctor. We had Menson Bound join us and talk about some of the archaeology. We had people from the South African Weather Service join us and talk about the weather balloons they're launching and how they're keeping track of all the conditions in the Weddell Sea as the expedition continues. And so today we're going to head on board the SA Agulhas II with Reach the World's Tim Jacob. This time we're going to be live from the bridge. So let's get started with a quick catch up here. Let me bring Tim in live right now. Here we go. Hey, Tim, how's it going?
Hey, Joe, I'm great. Welcome to the bridge of the SA Agulhas II.
All right, really cool. And what a clear connection today. I'm excited. We need to catch up because last time we talked to you, you were kind of zeroing in on the sink site. The ice was getting thicker. The ship was moving as it was kind of breaking through that 1 to 2 meter thick ice. What's going on, Tim?
Ooh, I've got some great news to share. For those of you who haven't heard yet, the SA Agulhas II has made it to the sink coordinates of the Endurance in the Weddell Sea. It is probably one of fewer than 5 ships who have ever been to this place in the Earth, including the Endurance. And it's just so exciting. The ice conditions were very favorable. This ship is amazing. It can just cut through that ice like it's not even there. It doesn't even slow down at all. And with the help of some of the scientists who were monitoring the ice from space using remote sensing, they weren't in space, the satellites were. They were using pictures that showed us where the ice was and the best way to get in. We made it really in record time to this sink spot. And right now we're hovering right over this area that we're searching. The AUVs are in the water. We've got all kinds of great things happening. It's a hive of activity, and I'm really today joining you from the hub of the activity on the ship. You can see behind me lots of people moving around, lots of things happening. This is the bridge, the command center of the SA Agulhas II. I wanted to show you something before we move on. There's a really cool sign that I believe the Chippy made to commemorate our arrival at the sink site. All the expedition team members are signing it. You can see Shackleton, Sealy Shackleton, sorry, I'm getting used to the name here. And we are at the spot. The search has begun in earnest for the Endurance, and everybody's feeling great.
All right. Well, first of all, it's exciting to see that Sealy Shackleton now officially has a name. So that's good. I'm glad that competition went well and we have a name for old Sealy.
That's right.
And then before we meet Captain Knowledge, you mentioned, you talked about going through the ice. And I think rather than just hearing about it, let's see it. So you sent me a couple little video clips here and I'm going to play them. And I can even lower the volume on them a little, Tim, if you want to talk a little bit about the clips. So I'll start off with one here. Let's start off with this one where you're kind of just hitting one kind of little piece.
Yeah, so this is a view on the starboard side of the SA Agulhas II. We're approaching a moderately sized ice floe, and it just shows you how this ship doesn't need to move at all. This massive, multi-foot, multi-meter thick ice floe just sort of gets squished and moved out of the way as we come through. The ship is very, very impressive to watch. here we are in sort of medium ice seas. You can see there's still open water between the ice flows. Where we are now at the sink site, the ice is much more compressed. It looks like a solid field of light. I'll be able to show you out the bridge window in just a little bit, but this is sort of us making our way south into the Weddell Sea, into the ice pack of the Weddell Sea, and approaching the sink site.
All right, and I want to share one more clip. I mean, what would Antarctica be without these guys? So let me share this little clip here.
I believe those are Adelie penguins, and they are everywhere. As we made our way into the Weddell Sea, I was expecting maybe to see a couple, but we have seen Adelie penguins, we have seen crab-eater seals. There was a leopard seal swimming behind the ship the other day. We've seen minke whales. It's just teeming with life.
All right, very cool. Tim, we have a ton of groups tuning in right now. Obviously, a lot of them are in class with us. In fact, it's been a big snow day here in parts of the US and Canada. So we do have some virtual groups tuning in from home. And then we've got all kinds of comments coming here via the chat. So let me just say hi to a few groups. St. Louis, Colorado, Waterloo, Brazil, Ottawa here in Canada, Sherman Oaks, California, Saudi Arabia, Philadelphia, Connecticut, New York, where else? Indiana, Philadelphia, so Pennsylvania, Hatboro, Pennsylvania. Oh yeah, very cool. So tons of groups tuning in live. Use that chat sidebar throughout today. And I'm going to be watching for those questions. We're going to work some of those in. So Tim, I mean, it sounds like a lot's going on. It sounds like the AUVs are in the water. They're sniffing around looking to potentially find the Endurance in 3,000 meters of water. Absolutely incredible. Did you get to see the launch of the AUVs?
Everybody huddles around. Everybody who's not involved in launching the AUVs huddles around on the helideck on the back of the ship. And it's just amazing to see that subsea team doing their work. They've been planning and thinking about this for a very long time, and it's just amazing to see them work. One of the things also that I got to do today for the first time is hop aboard a basket attached to one of the cranes on deck of the ship and go down to the ice and walk around on the ice, which was absolutely incredible. The ice scientists were measuring and doing their observations from the snow and sea ice. Everybody else, a soccer ball came out at one point. People were playing soccer or football on the ice. It was just a great day to be down there. That's why I have my hat hair today. I just came back from the ice.
All right. Very cool. That sounds incredible, Tim. A few more highs I want to say here. Cape Town, South Africa, Dublin, Ireland, Bavaria, Germany. Really cool to see so many groups. And I think one more thing I think I should share here, Tim. Just bear with me while I share my screen one more time. Make sure I pick the right tab here. If you do want to keep track of where they are right now, here's a really great image. You can see the Antarctic Peninsula here. And then I can zoom in a little closer and we can see kind of those live updates, kind of those positions there. And then I'll share the link if you want to kind of follow along as well. I've got the link here and I'll put it there. So it looks like maybe there's a little drifting. I imagine you drift a little bit with the sea ice.
It is a big part of what the teams on board the ship do every day, including a lot of people up here on the bridge. They're watching what direction the wind is coming from, when there's high tide and low tide, and what the currents are doing, what the weather's doing, because this ice is always moving. You can see really well on this map, actually, that in certain cases we've repositioned, we've changed where we want to be in the ice. But once we sort of park, you can see this drift generally sort of from the bottom right corner to the top left corner. And that's the way the weather's going right now. So you can't just park and treat the ice like it's still, even though it feels that way. When you look at it on a map and you're tracking yourself with GPS sensors, we are constantly moving.
All right. Well, Tim, I know that we're going to have a special guest joining us. Is Captain Knowledge nearby?
He is. I am, for all of you, I'm so glad there's such a big group today because we have the ultimate guest, the captain of the SA Agulhas II, Captain Knowledge Bengu. He's been so gracious to join us today. I'm going to introduce him and bring him in here, and we can say hello.
Hello, how are you?
Hey, Captain Knowledge, how are you? Great to see you.
Oh, pleased to be part of the Reach the World, doing it for the greater good.
All right. I imagine you're being kept pretty busy over there.
Yeah, things a bit relaxed now. I think the mobilization and also getting down here was the most hectic part of it. So my most important task was to get the ship onto the sinking location.
All right. Well, Captain Knowledge, I'd love maybe if you could tell us a little bit about, what it took from when you left the port to where you are now. What were some of the things you had to keep in mind? Some of the challenges you encountered getting the Agulhas II into the position it is now.
All right, so first thing is that I had done a logistic voyage to Antarctica. So we returned back into Cape Town on the 29th, and we quickly offloaded the ship over the weekend. It was the 29th of January. So on the 1st, the mobilization started, which is the mobilization of the Weddell Sea Voyage up until the 5th. So during that period, that's where I was overworked the most. And then we departed on the 5th, around 1800. So along the sea passage, there was a lot of preparations and planning. But I managed to cool off preparing for the ice passage. Unfortunately for us, we had quite a bad weather that hit us, so we had to deviate now and again to avoid the serious weather and to keep the ship comfortable, especially with all the equipment, expensive equipment, I must say, on our poop deck. So, which obviously delayed us a bit. Would have been here maybe half a day earlier. So a lot of preparation was in place from the management, between myself, the Ocean Infinity management, including the expedition leader, and also the other scientists who assisted us in picking the right route and also finding the right ice to go through. So I must say, compared to 2019 expedition, the ice was much more favorable to the vessel, even though the vessel is quite shown that it's more capable than it's designed for. However, we made it here in record time. We didn't have to actually use full power to get here. So I think God was at work. I mean, this has to be it. We need to find the endurance.
Yeah, absolutely. I can only imagine what's going on board, how excited everybody is. I imagine that it's electric in the air as this search is going on right now. So, Captain Knowledge, we have classrooms from all across North America. We have viewers tuning in from Europe and Africa and other places around the world. So, a few questions are coming in via the chat already. We have a classroom in Colorado who would love to know more about breaking the ice with the ship. Can you tell us a little bit more about how the Agulhas II breaks that ice? How fast are you going? What's happening when you're going through the ice?
All right. So what is very important is that every ice breaking vessel is designed for specific ice conditions. So this ship in particular, she's called a Polar Class 5, which means she's designed to break 1 meter thick ice at 5 knots. So, which the design of this vessel itself is more than that. However, the power, which means the engine power, is slightly less. So, which is why she's capable of breaking much more thicker ice. However, it includes backing and rimming. So now, just then to clarify what I just said is, we should be able, if the ice is 1 meter thick, to continuously or constantly make our breakthrough at 5 knots without having to stop and reverse and go back again. So backing and ramming is the process or the procedure whereby you are backing off for a certain distance and then you run at full speed, you knock the ice. But what this ship does, she slides over the ice and uses its mass to break the ice. And then you then have to repeat the process a few times while you're going through a big flow. So that was then referred to backing and ramming. Fortunately, on this voyage, we have not been able to have to do that because the ice is mostly first year ice, and which the ship goes through that ice quite easily.
All right. Well, let's start bringing some kids on screen. Let's start meeting some classrooms and they can ask you some direct questions. So we're going to go to Sudbury, Ontario in Canada first. Grade 4-5 is hanging out with us with Mr. Dunn. Let me bring them into the call here. How are we doing today, Sudbury?
How are we doing, guys? Good. All right. Thank you. It's nice to meet you, Captain Knowledge. Ryder has a question for you today.
What do you and the crew do for fun on the ship when you're not working?
What do you and the crew do for fun on the ship when you're not working?
All right. Well, I watch movies. I go and work out. We've got 2 lovely gyms on the vessel. So I use one of them, which is allocated for the ship's crew. And also I spend a lot of time on the phone, calling home, family. And also I'm still a student, as old as I am. So I'm still studying further. So that's what I do most of the time.
All right. That's awesome. Never stop learning. Always learning new things. Very cool. Staying curious. Let's bring in another classroom here onto camera with us. We're going to go now to Keystone Montessori, grade 4, 5, and 6 in Massachusetts are joining us right now. Let me see if I can get them into the call. How are we doing today? Looks like you're in a couple spots there. Oh, we're going to get a little feedback, but that's okay. Why don't we grab a question?
All right. Go ahead, Dana.
I was wondering, when you're on the ice playing, are you ever afraid that the ice is going to move away from the ship?
Oh, okay. That's a great question. So, Tim, this might be one for you as well. They're wondering, when you're out on the ice, are you ever worried that the ship might move away?
You know, I was definitely not the first person on the ice today. They sent down the people who really know what they're talking about to check it out and give it a once over. There was a drill that went down and really accurately measured the ice where we were going to be standing. So it was all very, very safe. There was even tea and hot chocolate down there for us. So it was kind of like a picnic on an ice. I was not worried at all. And the ship was not going to go anywhere without its passengers. In fact, there were people up in the bridge the entire time watching everybody so that they didn't lose anybody and everybody was accounted for.
All right. And what about you, Captain Knowledge? Are you going to head out on the ice?
Yeah, well, if the opportunity avail itself. However, yeah, the process of sending people onto the ice is quite not just a simple one. So we gather around, do what is called a toolbox talk, where we identify all the risks associated with sending or taking people onto the ice. So that includes making sure that there are no cracks, there's enough ice thickness, and also how much of the wildlife is around, and also what is the possibility of the ice actually of the vessel breaking the ice. So which means you need to minimize the amount of force you're exerting on the ice. So then from there, we send people like an inspection team, and then they walk around, inspect the ice, and then they will give us a thumbs up to say, well, it's all good. And then the process of sending everybody else starts. So probably just to stretch my legs, I'll definitely, if the opportunity avail itself, go onto the ice. Unfortunately, it's just that we're working 6 on 6 off, so meaning at some point I need to rest, and during the time, my rest time, that's the time that I could only go to the ice. So I'm required to be rested and also alert at all times. So only when there's an opportunity and it does not risk me getting fatigue, I can then go on into the ice.
All right, fair enough. Let's take a
Joe,
little
I'm
trip.
just
Oh, sorry,
trying
go
to
ahead,
add
Tim.
real quick. Sorry
Yeah.
to interrupt, but Captain Knowledge has very graciously offered to give us a little tour of the bridge if that is of interest.
Of course.
It's the area we're in is just sort of a wing of the bridge, and if you want, Captain, I'll follow you.
All right, sir. If you could just have a look, this is more like a conning station, a center console, where when we're on sea passage and we're not breaking ice, we then use this. So the officers of the watch, they'll sit here, and those are the radar screens that you are seeing there. And what you're seeing yellow is the ice concentration. All right, so here you find our steering wheel. Lovely, isn't it?
It's not as big as I would expect it to be.
Yeah, so this is a magnetic compass indicator, which is the magnetic compass on the Mount Island. And then this is your gyro compass repeater, which is also situated back there. So that's what we'll use. It's called a combinator. You push forward, the ship goes forward. When you push it backwards, the ship will reverse. So there's all the other patterns that goes with it. I won't bore you with that. And that's the radio for communicating with
Tim,
everybody
are you
else.
able to just tilt the camera down a little bit?
Yes, sorry.
That's okay. The light from the window was just kind of blocking the gear. That's
Is that better?
Yep.
All right. So
Okay.
basically, what you're seeing here is a replica of what's on the wing. However, all the fire and emergency indicators, that's what you'll see from that side. So the ship is subdivided into compartments, and it has a watertight sliding doors which subdivide the ship just in case of flooding so that she doesn't sink. So which the Titanic obviously didn't have, which why she sank so quickly. And then we also have various flooding sensors just in case an area gets flooded. It's also indicators there.
All right.
Also,
Yeah.
you can just show them there's all the other indicators
Yeah.
there. So, the lights also again. But yeah, this is we're able to see what we do from here because it gives the indication. That's the heading of the ship that you're seeing there, 168, meaning we are heading southeasterly. There's a wind sensor there and the depth, and also this is a radar indicator, meaning when you're turning the ship, it also shows you.
Is one of these the captain chair?
That one, yeah.
This is okay. There it is, right over there. It's the captain chair.
All right, very cool.
Now this is the captain's chair, which is separate from the other ones. It's also very good to get a good view outside, especially when you are going through into the harbor or when you are breaking ice or when you need to give instructions. At least it's near the conning station.
All right. Thank you for that tour.
Very cool. Thanks so much, Captain Knowledge. Tim, before we go back to questions, are you able to give us a little view out the window?
Yeah, sure. Give me a second here. I'll crossing over my cord. You can actually see where we were out on the ice today. There's the bow of the ship. You can see the white crane that we used to get lowered down to the ice. And if you have excellent vision, you might be able to see some human footprints and some penguin footprints down off the bow.
Well, that's
So
really cool.
a really amazing view from up here.
That's a very different view than we've had before, where our first one was kind of slushy ice, and then our last event, more ice, but some space. It looks pretty tight, the ice right now.
Yeah, well, that is intentional. So we picked a nice flow, which is about 1.2 meter thick. So we then take the ship and push it up against it so that we can keep, then you push, while we're pushing up, it clears the stern where they're deploying the AUVs. So in this way, we don't need to worry a lot. We know that we've just wedged the ship onto this ice, and then we then sit and relax.
All right. Let's meet another one of our camera classrooms. They're joining us in New Jersey. Miss Positive Crew's hanging out with us.
Haley, come on up. All right. Haley's going to ask you a question. Go ahead, Haley.
How much sleep does everybody get on the ship?
Okay. So how much sleep does everybody get?
Okay, so when it comes to sleeping, it depends what role do you do onto the ship. So, well, particular in my case, I don't get a lot of sleep because if I'm not on the bridge, I am then doing meetings, I am responding to emails, I am on the phone with the office. So I generally sleep around 11 and wake up around 5:30. But currently, as we are on the site location, I'm working 6 hours on, 6 hours off, meaning I start from 6 in the morning, I knock off at noon, and I need to check the emails and do all other admin that is required. Maybe I go to bed around 1:45, 2 o'clock. Then I must be up again at 5:30 in the afternoon to come on shift at 6 o'clock and then get off at midnight. Maybe there's emails to respond to, and then so on it goes. So once we leave the site, we're out of the ice concentrated area, then I'll go back to a routine of sleeping at 11 and also waking up at 6:30 to start my day at 7.
All right. So we have a question here via YouTube, and they'd love to know, what's the best part of your job?
I think the easy way to answer the question is, over the last 10 years, being a master, you tend to make your work look easy. However, just the whole feeling of knowing that I'm overall in charge, I've got such a huge responsibility. Everybody depends on my decisions, good and bad, for them to stay alive and safe, and also to have such a nice asset to look after. But it's mostly during the preparation stages, where there's that adrenaline rush, trying to get everything together and less sleep and just continuous working. So to a point that when I go to other ships that are less busier, I sometimes feel like there's something wrong. It's like I'm cheating the company. I'm getting paid for doing nothing. So this ship, because it's a scientific platform, it's continuous. It's operations 24 hours. So you're forever planning ahead. So you get used to that, and it becomes kind of a habit or an addiction.
All right. Let's bring in another classroom here. We're going to go to Colorado. Some third graders with Miss Schwab. Let me bring them in live. There they are.
Good.
How are you doing?
Good. Blake, come on up. Say good morning.
Good morning. What was the best part of the journey?
Oh.
All right. The best part was when we discovered that the ice is not as thick as we anticipated to be. It was quite a huge relief as we started the ice passage, meaning going through the ice, and to find that ice was not as hard and we didn't have to apply a lot of skills to navigation skills to get onto the sinking location. So that was the most thing that worried me a lot, because from the previous voyage it was a concern. We struggled a lot and I had anxiety, just worried about that, if we'll be able to achieve the objective to get onto the sinking location on time and also without any hassle.
Okay, we've got a family joining us from Calgary, Alberta. I'm going to bring them in and see if they have a question for us. There they are. Hey, Calgary.
Hi.
Hi, good morning. I think our question really goes well with what was just asked. So go for it, Chloe.
If the ice was too thick for the ship to break through, what would happen?
All right. So, firstly, we have means to ascertain if the ice can and cannot break the ice. However, we will then revert back to backing and ramming. We know that the ship has a history of being able to break about 5 meter thick ice when you are when you are backing and ramming, meaning you are eating away small chunks of the ice to then get to your next point. So it means that we're going to take longer to reach our destination. However, we're pretty determined that we're going to then get there maybe after a long period of time. But backing and ramming, that's the process of breaking a ice that is thick, that you can't just continuously go through.
Okay, great questions coming in so far from our group. I'm going to start popping in a few more camera classrooms to see if they have a follow-up question. So we'll mix up the order just a little bit this time. Let's start with our group in New Jersey, see if they have another question.
Is Matthew here? Yes, that one. Here you go, Matt. Go ahead, Matt.
What is the safety procedure if the ship were to sink?
The safety procedure if the ship were to sink.
Oh, okay. The safety procedure if the ship were to sink is that I will ring the general alarm, which is the emergency alarm that everybody knows, which is a continuous ringing. So everyone will go to their master station where they will be accounted for. So you do what is called a head count or roll call. So once you know that everyone is accounted for, no one is missing, then you check that they are dressed warmly, then you make sure everybody is dressed warm enough to avoid hypothermia and also to avoid catching cold. So what then will happen is in this area where it's so cold, we've got personal survival kits, so that we will take out, and then so that while we are waiting on the ice, we've got radio beacons. I will then on the global maritime distress system and press a button that is for distress button. Luckily, we've got helicopters here. We'll also incorporate that and use the helicopters to take us to the safest place where we can evacuate.
Okay, let's take a little trip back to Sudbury, Ontario. Do you have another question? Looks like they do.
Yeah, Kiva has a question. I don't know if this is for the captain or for Joe. Sorry, for Tim.
When you find the ship, will you be able to take any artifacts from it?
When you find the ship, will you be able to take any artifacts from it?
That's a really good question. I'm glad you asked it. This ship, even though nobody went down with the Endurance, is still a protected thing. And this mission, when we find the Endurance, we'll just survey, take a map, and we'll not take anything from the wreck. We're going to leave it just the way it is, but we're going to take many, many, many pictures, many videos, and take a complete map so that historians, marine archaeologists, others in the future can take a good look at the wreck site and learn from it after we're gone from the Weddell Sea. But yeah, it's important. It's actually very important to know that we're not taking anything from the wreck site.
All right, great question. Upper element, or let's go back to our group here, our Keystone Upper Elementary. See if they have one more question. Oh, let me pick. Is that the mic? There they are.
Hey.
How many people are on the ship?
All right, we, including myself, we are currently 109, but the ship is designed to carry 150 people. Currently, the ship's crew plus the expedition team, we are 109 currently.
Okay. Who haven't we visited for round 2? Westridge Elementary.
My question is, how long did it take you to plan and map and get your crew?
How long did it take to plan and map our route to get here?
All right. It took a day for the ship, because it's something that we do every time. We just needed to get a good ice image for us to be able to then map our way when we're going through the ice. However, every day to day, we take generally a short period of time to plan the passage, because we have various equipment that assists us to do that. These days, we have electronic charts, which it's on almost like in a computer, so it's easy for you to put your coordinates, and then it produces a map and a track and a route for you. And we still incorporate paper charts as well with that as a backup. Generally, we have a second officer whose job is just to plan the route, and I approve it at the end.
All right, we're going to jump back to YouTube and end off with a few more questions from YouTube here. So we have a group here who's wondering, you're a licensed ice pilot, but have any of your journeys or your expeditions taken you to other parts of the world?
Well, this vessel is a polar research vessel, so we don't come to only the Weddell Sea. South Africa is also part of the group in COMNAP, which is involved in polar or Antarctic exploration. So that is what this ship does, and she goes to Gough Island, which is next to Tristan da Cunha. She goes to Marion Island, which is on the east of South Africa. Also, it's a research island. And also, if I'm not on this ship, then I can get assigned to other ships in the company, which then takes me to other areas.
Okay. Another question here from somebody, I believe they're in Germany. They're wondering, how much time does the expedition have at the sink site? How much time do you guys have?
Well, as planned, we have up until end of February, if all goes well. So we don't know what will happen if things don't go according to plan. But at this stage, to get back to Cape Town on schedule, we need to depart the sinking location on the 28th of February.
All right. Another question here about the ship. How many engines does the SA Agulhas II have?
Okay, the SA Agulhas II, she has 4 generators, each one producing 3,000 kilowatts, so which makes it 12,000 kilowatts in total. And then she has what is called converters, which converts the direct current into alternate current, which then that current drives the propulsion motors and the thrusters.
All right. So a little bit more about the equipment on the boat. And Tim, you might be able to help with this too. One group wants to know, has there been any launches of Zodiacs? Are Zodiacs part of the equipment on the boat? And then from Alaska, someone's wondering about the Rotac K-Max helicopter. Has it flown yet?
Do you want to do the Zodiac?
Yeah. Well, from the Zodiac part, if we were in open water, obviously, we would have incorporated it in our launching and operational procedure, which it is a consideration. However, we are surrounded by ice, so that is ruled out.
And I can take the question about the K-Max helicopter. It's an amazing machine, and everybody was very, very eager to see it fly. Did a test flight a couple days ago, but we have not needed to use it yet to carry any cargo. So it did just sort of a short trip, make sure everything was all tuned up and ready to go should we need it. It was so great to see it flying around the SA Agulhas with the ice beneath it.
All right, very cool. And I'll just share, Tim, I have it queued up anyways. One of the smaller helicopters went out a few days ago. Smaller equipment here. So that must have been cool to see that launching off the back and doing kind of an early reconnaissance of the sink site.
Yeah, I don't know if it was exciting for people like Captain who have seen helicopters take off his ship many times before, but I personally was very excited. We just, at the end of a long sort of ocean crossing journey, the pilots were beyond happy to get to fly after many days of just sort of hanging out and planning. And this flight taking off from the back deck of the SA Agulhas II was full of scientists who were going ahead of us a little ways to check on the ice conditions in and around the sink site of Endurance.
Yeah, what they also did, they also had a buoy which they launched on the ice to monitor the general drift. So that also was to assist us into being able to do a drift prediction on our search location, because it's very important to be able to do that, because that's how the Ocean Infinity team plan their search pattern. So it depends on general drift of the whole pack that we are on.
All right. Well, before we say goodbye, because we're getting close to that point, I do want to share another link here with the classrooms that are tuning in. So I'm just going to pop this up here. This link here is a great spot if you want to explore some of the amazing resources that Reach the World has brought together, from journals to media, meet different members of the crew, different activities. So do take some time and visit that there, reachtheworld.org/endurance22. If you haven't registered already to keep track of what's happening, you can visit this one, explore.reachtheworld.org, and you can register so that your classroom gets all the updates as we announce more events. And Tim, I think we're pretty close to being able to announce the events for next week. So if you're not signed up for that newsletter, you might not hear about the events that are coming up. So we'll make sure that those links are there and shared as well. And then we got to start off with a huge shout out to our YouTube crew. So many great questions, so many groups tuning in from all around the world. And then we have to turn it back to you, Tim, and to you, Captain Knowledge. Thank you so much for taking us live onto the bridge, answering all of these amazing questions. And yeah, we hope that, well, two things. One, that you get some rest, but that you get out on the ice too, and you get to have some fun out on the ice.
Yeah, well, it comes with a job. So if that opportunity does avail itself, I'll grab it. If not, there will be another opportunity, maybe not at the Weddell Sea, which on a previous voyage I managed to also get to play. So at least I've set foot onto the ice floe in the Weddell Sea. So it's not a train smash. However, just to get out of the ship environment, just to wind down, it does help. you know, as a little thing like that, it goes a long way. It feels like you've been somewhere else, even though the ship was nearby.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tim, you take care of Sealy Shackleton over there.
I will. I certainly will. I want to just echo your thanks for Captain Knowledge today. As you heard, he's got very limited free time, and he chose to spend almost an hour with us today. So I'm very grateful for you for joining us today. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, everybody, for opportunity to share my experience and also to share how the ship looks and what she can do. And yeah, it's been great. Thank you very much.
All right, camera classrooms, let's get really loud now. A huge goodbye and thank you. I'm going to bring everybody in.
Bye.
Agulhas II, thanks everyone.